All right, so now you learn how to use the begin play and you learn how to use our event tick. Now, I want to quickly do a recap on variables, which is something that I haven't covered here. And there's a couple of cool things we can do with variables, and I'm going to explain you how to do them, right? So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to try to be clever with my code, and I'm going to try to, for example, right, get the spawn. I want to be able to select a widget from the world, or let's say any actor existing. I want to be able to get that class and then start to spawn everything. Right, so for example here, how do you make so this actor can talk with this actor into the scene, right? There is an easy way that you can actually do this. And I'm just going to go ahead here. And on the variables, I'm going to create a new type, but I just want to make sure as well that when you click on them, you can categorize them on the category. And here you can write anything you want, anything to make it easy. So I'm going to just call this spawn. Oh, spawn. And I'm going to edit them here. Nice. Now, the next thing you want to do here is that every time you need to do a reference in world to an object, you can do this in two ways. You can actually pick the object right away. That's recommended for when you're trying to create a puzzle. Imagine that a lever needs to have a reference of a door, right? So you can actually do this. Or you can use something called get actors of class or get actor of class node, right? So for example, on this example, I want to pick the object on the scene. So what I'm going to do is that instead of spawning the balls from a class, I can just pick up this object here, get a class, and then do it myself. So what I can do here is that I'm going to create a new variable called duplication actor. And now this is going to be a type of an actor, but we don't have the actor yet. So I'm going to try to be very specific. The good thing about the types is that it works with when you create your own blueprint. This is also a class type, right? So usually you can go back here and you can search for BP spawn actor, which is the actor we created. And here's the important things. There's soft object reference and soft class reference. We don't need to worry about those two right now. The two main important things that you need to remember here is that a class reference is just the name of the class, and the object reference is usually an object already on your world. So basically, imagine those two as an object reference as actually a physical object on your scene, and the class is just a recipe to spawn the class, right? We're going to be using the first one. We're going to make sure this is public, okay? Make sure you click on this. And this basically all it does, it makes it public or not. It's the same as just clicking this checkbox here as well, all right? So imagine that you want to create, let's say you're trying to create a bank system and the bank receives the money. So when you receive the money, it needs to understand how much currency you have. So that's public, right, usually. It's more complicated than that, but you can just focus on this for now. Now I'm going to compile and save this stuff. Now, if I go back here to my spawner, look at that. Duplicated actor. If I drag and drop on this list, it will give me the reference of all the actors on the scene. You can also do this. You can pick the actor. If you try to pick something wrong, it will say that it's incompatible because it relates to the own class. So I'm just going to pick this object right there. And now, if I go back to my code, what I can do here is that now I have the reference of the actor. And what I would like to do here is that instead of, I'm just going to drag and drop a couple of things here. Instead of selecting a hard-coded class, you can do something like you get a duplicated actor. You can get the class, okay? And you can just drag and drop here. And that's it. And that has exactly the same behavior as you would have here. And the good thing about it is that because Unreal Engine does such a cool job about syncing all these blueprints, that I can right click on this, I can edit the actor, go back here, and we can search for a cube, right? And on the cube section, I can just select any cube, compile and save, press play, and you see it's always related to the same object, so it's consistent. So this is what we call a reference object, right? And you're going to be using this quite a lot on your game. Now, there's a couple of more variables that I want to explore here, but I think they're pretty easy to understand. So if I just, for example, if I create a new variable, and if you go to the types, Boolean is true or false. A byte usually is a small number. Integer is a integer number. You have integer 64, which is for larger inter numbers, right? Float, name, string. This is an interesting one. Name and strings, there is a difference between them. That's worth mentioning. For example, with names, you can append things into it, so you have to convert into a string. And the same for text. We have a vector, rotation, and transform. The cool thing about it is that 3D vector and the 3D rotation, they are still a vector, both of them, but they are just used for different cases. And then you have the transform, which is basically the location, rotation, and the scale of object. And then here we have more, other variables that you don't need to understand them right now because they are not going to be used at this point. But basically, any structure that you can create, it will appear here. And that's what we're going to be focusing on the next one, which is creating a structure and make it accessible here.